Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our ServiceNow webinar today, Mission Partner Workflows. I would like to just go over some housekeeping items before we get started. Please note all your lines have been muted just to reduce any kind of background noise. And if you'd like to ask a question throughout the presentation, please use that Q&A pod at the bottom of your screen. We will do our best to answer your questions at the end of the presentation, and if not, we'll make sure to follow up with you all offline. I'd like to introduce you to our host today, Sade Adani. She is with ServiceNow. Sade, the floor is all yours. Thank you so much.
Awesome, great. Thank you so much, Brooke. And thank you to the Carousel team for all your collaboration and making today happen. We certainly appreciate your sponsorship. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sade Ardani, and I'll be your host today. I'm part of the federal team here at ServiceNow, supporting our customers in the DoD. Now, many of you might recognize ServiceNow as a platform of automation with digital workflows intended for IT purposes. Today, we're going to focus on how ServiceNow has been able to accommodate workflows outside of IT and in the mission space. So much like the workflow tools that deliver and service to IT groups, as it turns out, DoD agencies are also delivering a mission to the broad audiences that they serve. So it's in this service delivery that we often see very disconnected processes and bringing these parties and diverse stakeholders together. So a great need for automation and digital transformation, just as many as entities that we interact with in our personal life and in the private sector. So this afternoon, I'm joined by three phenomenal partners that are going to be showcasing their expertise in delivering to the mission space. Over the next hour, we're going to focus on three different DoD-inspired workflow use cases that encourage mission partner engagement, cross-organizational workflows, and automation for tasks that are in the field. I'm going to drop some links about the partners as we proceed, so keep your eye in the chat box. And we ask that you please participate and ask questions, and we'll do our best to answer them as they come in, but we're going to leave some time at the end of our presentation to talk through a couple of them at least. So without further ado, let's get started with Team Hymetric. We're going to go over and highlight their work in mission partner service delivery in a shared service sort of model. Over to you, Matt.
Thanks, Sade. I appreciate it. And I'll take control of the screen, if you will.
Yes, sir.
And let's do a share. And let us present. Let's get going. So first things first, let me minimize that. I'll put it somewhere. Anyway, so thank you very much for the time today, and we'll get started. So what Hymetric will present today is the customer service portal for the DISA, Defense Information System Agency, for their department, the Mission Partner Engagement Office. And really, just as we get going here, just to do a little bit about Hymetric. First is we are a ServiceNow Elite Partner. Last year, we did win the ServiceNow 2021 Customer Service Workflow Award, or Partner of the Year, for things that we've done both within the federal side, but also toward the end, we'll give another demonstration what we've done on the commercial side as well. But more importantly for this group, we've been engaging with the Department of Defense and the Fourth Estate with digital transformation throughout various different areas. About myself, 25 years in, started in 1996, then kind of working on the service management platform experience over years and years, worked with many industries and also experience with the state and local, and more importantly, federal government. Okay. So what we're going to talk about is the ServiceNow Customer Service Portal. And before I do, and I'll just hop to this next page, for those on the call, you may have been here before or may not, but the main thing is if you ever need to interact with DISA, then, and you, for example, you have questions around deploying cloud items, you need to increase storage, whatever it may be, anything that revolves around data sharing, collaboration, around command and control. This is where you'd want, if you have any inquiries, you'd come to this page, and it's a public page. And if you do have the right access, you will be able to go into the customer service portal. And when you do, then you would be engaging with the Mission Partner Engagement Office. And they're really, their job is really to field these requests, address issues, be an advocate for the mission partners, and be able to ultimately provide feedback from the missions partner to DISA and vice versa, and how better to collaborate. So for this walkthrough, I'm going to just walk through various screens. So the first one, if I click on the customer service portal, and if I have appropriate access, which many should have, they'll come into this customer service portal page. And just to do a quick tour, on top are really clickable or highlighted messages that anything that DISA would like to communicate to the mission partners. These are messages that can be clicked off, so an end user would be able to go in and be able to say, I've read this, and click off. When they move down below, based on your access in, you do have a ability to navigate anywhere within the portal, again, based on your access or your entitlement. And then moving forward into the picture area, if you do want to be able to generate knowledge, or not generate, but be able to look knowledge up or be able to access a service catalog item to submit to, you're able to put in keywords or questions in, and it'll be able to direct you to another screen that will show you, certain high hit knowledge articles or places where you can submit a request. Another major navigation point, which we'll focus in on for this quick window, is really there's three major areas that we'll talk about for this walkthrough. The first one would be creating a case, and we'll do that next. But ultimately, if you have any type of request for information or anything that you'd want DISA to help you on, you have the ability to create a case. Additionally, we also have a knowledge base. So knowledge sharing and providing formal knowledge to the mission partners is critical. And ultimately, we would like to, we'll be showing that as well. And then finally, there's a forum where mission partners and DISA can come and collaborate over set items, if you will. And we'll do a quick tour on that. And then down below, just general, like all announcements that are out there. And then we'll talk more about it later, but toward the end is knowledge articles that are, for example, most read or most useful articles. And we'll talk about that piece. So moving on. So in this situation, I want to create a case. So if I go click create a case, this will send me to the create case window. And from there, one thing I want to point out is one cool thing that ServiceNow does is they do provide a navigation point. So you can see where you sit within the portal. So I'm within the customer service support area, and I'm about to create a case. And from here, from a create case perspective, one nice thing is if you notice the form, it's very simple. It really has three areas that I need to fill out. Ultimately, a menu that will be a select service, and that will allow me to select predefined items. And then when I select it and when I submit it, it will route it to the appropriate team that can help me out the best. Additionally, for the topics, if I type in whatever I want, such as storage or memory or what have you, any knowledge that's in the system will display. So ultimately, if we're able to provide knowledge up front and save you the time of submitting a request and going through that process, the article could already be there and you can access it. So that's a nice feature. ServiceNow has done a great job with that. And then finally, description. You can put in a complete description of what you're looking for, pretty much an endless text box. And if you want to add any attachments to that, you can as well. And you can add as many attachments as need be. Additionally, a couple things I want to highlight. One thing is, you notice you don't have to identify yourself. So when you do log in, you are going to be authorized or authenticated. So ultimately who you are, what agency you represent, that information will be already set. So that's a piece that you do not need to identify or spend time on, but ultimately allows DISA and this office to be able to coordinate that the routing as well as working with you. And then if you don't want to submit a request and you do want to talk to the service desk, there is a chat capability that is accessible throughout the entire portal. So if you do want to generate a chat, you would put in queue, and then you would be able to chat with a service desk agent to address the issues. They could create a case, they could provide you a knowledge article, but ultimately you'd be able to interact with somebody on the service desk. And then finally, once you're ready to submit, once you fill things out, you can click the submit button. What that will do is that will send you over to the review case area. So when the case is submitted as a mission partner, you will receive a confirmation email. You can link back to this page if you want to interact directly with the case. If you do reply back to the email saying, to confirm it and reply back to the email box, and it will route it to this particular area, and it will upload this major area here, where what you're looking at is, if I do want to interact with the case fulfiller, I can go in and type messages. And as you can see, it'll identify who you are, date, time, and what information you've placed in. Additionally, if you do add attachments on the fly, you can, that will be noted there as well. And any responses from the fulfiller. So if you're working with 1 or 2 people, you'll be able to see in time sequence what the responses are. So answering questions, providing instructions, etc. And then additionally, chat's there if you need it. For case details, a basic summary of what the details are. And ultimately, as a requester, if you feel like you're happy with the case and it's done, you don't need to wait for it to close. You can initiate a closed case from here, and that will shut down the case and basically you'll be able to tell them if you're happy or not happy. But the main thing is you can close that case out. Moving forward. So moving away from creating a case, and let's talk about knowledge. So if I want to go to a knowledge area, I just go here back to the portal. I can click on knowledge, and this will send me to the knowledge area. A couple things that need to point out here. One is the knowledge is more or less a formal article that has been vetted. ServiceNow does provide a very mature approach or process for ensuring there's publication that are appropriate. So ultimately, there's a workflow. You can set based on, for example, whatever your silos are. So if you notice here, analytics and testing, collaboration, command and control. These items you can actually route articles that are potential candidates for publishing. You can send them to those groups, and the people can review and approve or reject as they see fit. Additionally, what ServiceNow does provide as well is they do provide the ability to retire knowledge or set a retirement date. So this is a best practice, which you can run reports to show me knowledge that may need to be updated. So for example, if you're publishing articles around Windows or what have you, versions definitely come into play. So from that perspective, you can retire that knowledge or force a review to update or retire as you see fit. The other thing that's important that ServiceNow provides is also the capability to rank knowledges, to see views, to rank based on stars, as well as being able to define whether or not this article is helpful. So you can measure articles that are published if they are successful, if they're even relevant or not. So the short of it is, pretty mature knowledge area, and very, very useful for the organization. Final note, just moving out. So going to the community side. So as we move out back to the portal, going to the asset community, this moves into a forum. So the forum is like, if you're familiar with forums, you have the ability to go in, find, again, this is accessible based on entitlement, but also ultimately you can go in and be able to subscribe to things that are of your interest. You also can click on, for example, cybersecurity, to be able to go in and look at that forum, be able to participate. ServiceNow does provide various methods to post content. So whether it's a general question, a blog, a video, what have you, that is there for however you see fit. And you have the ability to, when you subscribe, to be notified whenever contributions occur, and you have that capability. So from this perspective, again, I know we don't have a lot of time, so I've moved through fairly quickly through the portal, which is really the landing page, the create case, the knowledge, as well as the community forum. And just to wrap up for what Hymetric has done in the private sector, and ultimately where ServiceNow does a really excellent job around allowing partners such as Hymetric the ability to work with customers to address really complex and pretty large scale customer service needs. The example I will provide is Disney Plus. So as very familiar brand, and many probably on this call subscribe. So Hymetric was at the forefront working with Disney Plus to help deploy their customer service portal. And from there, if you've gone in and taken a look at, you've probably been there, how can I get Mandalorian or whatever it is, you can go in there and be able to post the questions, what have you. Disney does invest heavily in their time and effort to, mature out their knowledge base to try to do tier zero resolution, but also you can submit as well as you see fit. But the main thing is that's quite incredible is ultimately what Disney was able to do and the volume they're able to maintain. So ultimately, from a 6-month start, they were able to add on 50 million subscribers, and it's still growing. But by the numbers early on, again, this needs to be updated, but they're handling 40,000 chats concurrent, 160,000 daily chats, 200,000 daily interactions, and then 500,000 daily portal visits per day. And when it came to the deployment, again, Disney had to fast track this. We were able to come in and engage and get this done within 5 months. I will say from a platform perspective, ServiceNow definitely scales, as you can see. And as a partner working with ServiceNow, we're very, we love the technology. I think it's a really, really good platform. And with that, I'd like to thank you and turn it back to you, Sade.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. That was amazing. From Disney to DISA, you guys have really mastered the, the layer of engagement that's so important for not only the private sector, but also for our DoD customers. You're changing the, the whole user experience and bringing that consumer-like feel to the fourth estate. So well done. Thank you.
Thanks, Sade. Appreciate it.
All right, now let's change it up. In the next 15 minutes, our partners at Raptek are going to walk us through a live demonstration of how we are extending tasks out to yet another team within an agency, only this time it's pertaining to the resources that are out working those tasks outside of an office setting and into the field, and how that's simplifying mission readiness. So I'm gonna hand it over to Mike.
Thanks, Sade. I'm going to share my screen really quickly, and then I'll toss it to Joe Carapepe, one of our senior consultants, for the actual demo itself. At Raptek, we've been in this space building service management solutions and working on them for 25 years. Our focus recently has really been in how do we then take these great service management technologies, of which we think ServiceNow is the best and the leader in the market, and then apply that to our ability to service teams, agencies in the field and help DoD continue to deliver on the mission. Today, we're going to do a really quick demo. It's going to focus on how a contractor and an agency can work together to help remediate some issues that have come up at an airfield that are impacting that agency's ability to deliver on the mission. So Joe, I'll throw it to you and let you kind of take it from there.
That sounds good. Thank you, Mike. So yeah, as Mike mentioned, the scenario that we've got set up for this demo involves a contractor, facilities management, security, information technology, handling a number of facilities in the San Francisco Bay Area. So what we want to do is show how a work order that may have been generated from a customer service portal, like Matt was showing earlier, by example, makes its way out to the field staff, right? So again, we're talking about location-based work where it's not really tied, it is tied to a physical location, and they're not really IT workflows, right? So in this case, I am impersonating Alyssa Chenoy. And when I come in as Alyssa into the field service management overview, I can see right away that there's a number of open work orders that exist. The one that jumps out at me is that I know we've got a contract down at Ames Research down in Mountain View. And I can click on that and I can see right away that there is irregular operations taking place, right? It looks like there's some damage caused by some debris. I can actually, as Alyssa, click on this work order and drill down into it a little bit and start to get a sense of what is happening. And I can see that it looks like there was some storm and big winds down there in the South Bay area. And looks like it's affecting the ability to use the runway at Moffett Field. So I can actually scroll down a little bit further and actually see that the end user has uploaded an image. So I can actually see where it's at and get a better sense of what's going on. So as part of seeing that this is a critical work order that's been raised, what I can do is go ahead and flip over to my dispatch map. So what this is going to do is actually open up a map showing not only the work orders that exist, including the geolocation information that's contained on the work orders, but also the location of my technicians, right? So I can see up in the Bay Area where I as Alyssa am sitting, right? I can see that we've got a bunch of people that are up here in our office in the Bay Area, up in San Francisco. I can see that we've got another person down here in San Jose, and I can also see that we've got our guy, Ray. If I want to click on Ray, I can see that he's down at Moffett Field already. He's actually probably working on some quarterly plan maintenance And we can also see that he is probably working on this generator as part of the regular maintenance. So we know that Ray's down there. I can see that these are planned maintenance, so they're work in progress. But we also have this information related to this work order. This is the one that just came in through customer service management through the portal. And what we can do is just click on this right here, pull up the details of it, and go ahead and assign it directly to Ray, right? So I can just from here select Ray. I can add any notes. I can see what sort of skills are required of Ray. In this case, roads, tarmac, electrical, and lighting. So all these can be added as the work order is being created. And then I can add any work notes too, right? So check the lights, because some of the taxiway lights may have been damaged. So I want to call that out. So I can go ahead and post that. And then what I can do is update this work order. And now it shows up as being assigned as one of the work orders that Ray is working on. It doesn't show up as in red anymore because it's been assigned. And now what I'm going to do is, hopefully, if everything works with technology, flip over to my cell phone and show you what the mobile agent app looks like and what Ray would see on his screen. So let me go ahead and enable screen sharing. And pop up the ServiceNow agent application. Make sure that that's all refreshed. And then what I can see is right away that there's this assigned work task that shows up. So I can click on that, then and actually read the information. I can look at the location. I can read the detailed description if there's one that's provided there. I can look at the activities stream to see if there's any notes, and we can see right away that there's a screenshot showing Google Maps of where the actual debris is located. And I can choose to accept or reject this work. And in this case, I am going to accept the work. The next thing that happens is that I am prompted to start travel, right? So there's always going to be some travel time when it comes to remote field work. So in this case, we've got it set up to track travel time. So I'm going to go ahead and start my travel time, hop in the truck, get my guys together, and we're going to head over there. So this is the time. So I want to point out that the state is still accepted up here at the top. But you can see that the sub-state now has been updated to include en route. So that just indicates that I'm on my way there. So from here, right, I can actually go back to the details, pop over, and once I arrive on the location, I can start my work. And then you can see that the status has changed now to work in progress. And then as a Lista, right back in the office up in the city, I can actually track along as these status changes are being made on this work order task. I can follow along, see any progress. If I need to add any notes, I can pop over here. I can add a comment if I wanted to. I could actually, oops, get out of that. If I needed to add a photo of something that I'm seeing there, right, I could actually take a photo, pop that up on my camera. Hopefully this will work, and you can see out my window. At this point, what I'm going to do is go back over to the details. Maybe we decided that at this point, one of the runway lights has been disabled due to damage from the debris. So I'm going to go ahead and go use part. You can see that I've got a personal stock room that's stocked up with a number of different parts that I commonly use as part of my field service. In this case, I've got a medium intensity elevated runway light. Carry some of those on the truck, so I'm just going to grab one. In this case, I slide it over, use part. We'll go ahead and use 2 of these. So we'll use 2 of these. And automatically that gets decremented out of my personal stock room. The asset gets associated with the, I don't know why it's flashing. Okay, the asset actually gets associated as part of one of the items associated with the work order, and we're able to track those parts and restock that stock room if we need to. So it's just all about managing the inventory as well that's used out in the field. So for now, we're going to say, okay, we've used that part, we replaced those 2 lights, we're going to go ahead and close complete. I can go ahead and enter my closure notes, right, and say removed debris. Replaced 2 lights. That'll update the work order task. And you can see that I get a message at the bottom that just disappeared, but the status is now closed complete. There's also the work order itself. And if there was a case that was associated with it, like it coming through the customer service portal, that would also be updated with with the notes, the customer viewable notes, with any information that was included as part of that. Also along the way that I did want to mention that you could have service level commitments or service level agreements associated with the work order tasks. So depending on the priority, if certain service level commitments needed to be adhered to, much like you'd find in an incident management or an ITSM, those also can be applied to work orders and work order tasks within field service management. And then finally, the last thing I want to mention is that there's multiple ways that these work orders can be initiated, right? Work orders is that location work that exists where that geographical location is part of the work itself. They can be spawned from any number of applications. They can be created directly. They can be created through the customer service portal, right? There's ways to create those work orders based on IoT, right? If you have IoT devices out there that are reporting any issues, and you need to send somebody out to any remote location like a generator or something that might be reporting its status back, you can integrate that as well. So there's a lot of capabilities within ServiceNow, the platform, and within field service management when it comes to integrating and creating those requests. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Mike. Any other final thoughts?
No, thanks for that, Joe. And I'm glad we were able to show off both the backend portal and the agent for everybody from DoD. The important thing to keep in mind with everything field service oriented is that we're showing you just kind of a high level glimpse of what it can do. This can be tied to field operations, facilities, as Joe mentioned, Internet of Things, and we can route tons of different workflows to help support this and make your life easier, make your ability to monitor, mitigate, and remediate situations in the field, as fast as possible with a audit trail and reporting, which I know many agencies struggle with to have good, clear, defined reports against it. Thanks, Sade.
Absolutely. You guys nailed it. I think visibility on tasks that need to be performed in the field and in facilities are always top of mind for our DoD customers. And Joe, I think that was an excellent depiction of how remote resources with the right skills can be matched up with the right parts at the right place at the right time. So well done. Thank you both. So you guys have now seen case initiation with Hymetric and how that case can perhaps spawn into a work order for the work that might be done outside of an office setting. And in our last presentation of the day, Team Acorio has put together what happens after that initial engagement with mission partners, and covering the many teams on the back end throughout an enterprise that might need to have tasks routed with precision and transparency along the way. So with that, I'm going to actually hand it over to Brendan from Acorio.
Great, thanks, Sade. Really appreciate the opportunity, everyone, to be with you here today and represent Acorio. Before I turn it over to our CSM practice lead, Tony Saragusa, just to give you a little quick rundown on who Acorio is. We are a elite partner of ServiceNow. We're 100% focused on ServiceNow. Back in 2020, late 2020, we were acquired by NTT Data. So some of you may be aware of them from the federal side. But they purchased us for our ServiceNow expertise. And I think if you look at where we're at from a ServiceNow perspective, we have expertise across the platform. And really that comes in extremely handy when you're looking at different applications in your environment. So the thing that I think we'll talk about a little bit more is our expertise, both in advisory and design and implementation, and then ongoing support. Without further ado, let me turn it over to Tony, and we'll go with the demo. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Brendan and Shade. All right. Let me flip over to the screen share. So, as Shade said, we've teed up the portal experience for the customer, the mobile experience for the field service agents. And now what we're going to look at here and what we're seeing on the screen is the desktop experience for a customer service agent. So I am logged in here as Mr. John Jason, and you can see my workspace dashboard. What I have configured here is an overview of what I need to work on throughout the day. I've got high priority cases, I've got my team's cases, and then I've got some other cases in different states set up here. So this helps guide me in terms of what I should be working on throughout the day. Now, the scenario here is that I work for an agency that sets up site visits for the broader intelligence and defense community. So I'm sitting here, I'm working at my desk, and I get a phone call from Beryl. Beryl is a longtime colleague, and I can guess that she wants a site visit when she comes stateside. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that new button, and I'm going to go ahead and create a case. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is switch this from web. This is phone call. Now, as Matt demonstrated, you can create a case from the portal, and that can be a secure login. However, Beryl is located in Kenya, and sometimes her internet access is not always ready, and it's not always reliable. And that's a common experience that we see. So she normally calls in. So I'm going to note the phone, and I'm going to go ahead and start typing her name in here. And as we type it in, you'll see it automatically populates the account data. So one thing that's really nice about the platform is that there is native intelligence to it that you can take advantage of and have fields auto-populated as you go along. So this is a small example of that. Beryl is a VIP, so I'm going to go ahead and check that off. And also, talking with her, I'm going to note the date of her visit. And let's say she's going to come on Monday, July 26th, and the start time is 10 a.m. Now, the category, again, pre-populated for me. I know that this is a site visit, so the categorization is correct. I've got the short description and description here. This is free-form text, so I'm going to say, arrange site visit, VIP, Beryl. And then in the description, this is 4,000 characters long, so I can put a lot of additional information that, that I would want. Let's say, need lunch for 2 vegan and, visitors for lunch, so etc. There's lots of information that you could put in here. Next, I am going to go ahead and save this. Important, so I don't lose this record. Now, once it saves, we have a slightly different view. I've got, again, this can be configured. I've got SLAs, which we heard Joe mention in field services. I can configure this to include a lot of different information. I'm going to go ahead and hide that because I have a little bit more work I need to do on the case here. So I've identified who, when, what we're doing. I need a few more things here. The assignment group to this, so you can see it's defaulted to me, and the group here is the site visit coordinator group. I want to make sure that's called out. And I'm going to go ahead and accept this so that this case is assigned to me and I own it as a site visit coordinator. So once the case is set up, the next thing that I'm going to do is I am going to action my support points to help me get organized all the things that need to be done. So one example that I mentioned in the description is I need a lunch set up. So I am going to action the site visit support points, and I am going to assign this to Bob specifically. And set up lunch. And again, in the description here, I'm going to say need 4 total, 2 vegan. Again, any information that I want. You can also set this up to be auto-populated to a certain extent. If this is a workflow that you do commonly, you can, again, use that Now intelligence in the workflows to just automatically set up some of this stuff so you don't put it in manually. And the nice thing too about this is that even if I had the platform automatically create some tasks for me, it wouldn't prohibit me from creating a new task if there's something additional that I needed those support points help on. So now I've assigned this over to Bob. One thing that I'll demo for us is I'll flip over to Bob in a minute so that you can see Bob has restricted access to information. So that's one of the nice things about the platform as a whole and within case management is that we have parameters, we've got guide rails already available in the platform to help determine who can see what in terms of a case that's created, who can see what in terms of accounts and contacts. That's all latent ability within the platform that we can take advantage of. And I'll give you a little demo of that in just a minute. What I want to do next, though, is I have now at this point, I've actioned support points. Maybe there's obviously a security detail that I would need to set up, lots of things that I would probably want to create tasks for to keep track of. What I'm going to do next, though, is now I need to create an interim report that shows a status of how this visit is going, and I need to give a draft visit itinerary to Beryl. So let me demonstrate how we could do that. I'm going to go, and in the platform, we've got what we call a case action summary. And this is what I'm going to use to create that interim and potentially final report for Beryl and for other internal users. As you can see, I can add internal recipients to this. So this is an HTML enriched text box, so I can add pictures, etc. into this. But what I'm going to do here is just add any unique information about the visit. So about the visit. And I've got 2 boxes here. I've got a few boxes here, the summary, actions. I can add internal notes specific to this record if we want, but just general information about the visit. And I can make a note here that 2 lunches will be vegan, and then also Commander Cisco and Captain Janeway will be hosting lunch. So something like that. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And now what I want to do is preview this. And this is one of the really nice features I like about the platform. What you can see here is that this has more information than what I typed in. We've got a logo here that we can put in. I've got a site visit summary. I've pulled in information automatically from the case that's relevant to this interim report. I've got the information that I typed in here. And then what you can see at the bottom here is that Any information that is static for what this is, I'm not going to retype it over and over again. I'm going to add it to the template so that it's there correctly, and it includes everything that we would want to include. So something that's common to site visits is just the logistics around what happens. And then finally, there's always the disclosure warnings. So you can add a footer too that has various disclosures. So something that is really, really nice. I can download this, I can print it out and hand it off to those who need it. I can download it, I can also email it out as well. And this is something that would be available to Beryl on the portal as well. A final note about this is that you can also add an approval process to this. So if you are in a situation where, let's say, John Jason creates it, but all of these interim and final reports need to be approved by the director before they're shared with the customer, you can add an approval process into this. And because this is a separate record, again, when we think about security within the platform for employees that are interacting with the customers and accounts that are set up, this is another area where you can put parameters around and limit access so that they would just be able to see the case action summary and not the case itself. Now, the final thing I want to demonstrate is I want to flip over to Bob's view and show you what Bob sees. And let me make sure. All right. Oops, sorry. Live demo. All right, so here is Bob's view. So as you can see, Bob, now I don't know if you noticed the list view for Mr. John Jason had significantly more information to it. Bob has significantly less available. So it's not very flashy to show lack of information, but that's the only way to demonstrate that for Bob, we clearly have different parameters set up than for John. If I go into tasks, we'll take a look at this. And again, what I want to demonstrate is that, so here's the parent, here's the task, here's the parent, that's that case. And if I open this record, I can see it, but what you'll see here is that none of these are editable. I can't type into here, which it's probably hard to see, but I can view it. I cannot type into it. Again, another level of security that some of our customers in this space like to have is for their support points, when they action them, they can only see the information that is not on the task. They know that there's a case associated with it, but for control reasons, they do not see what is on the case itself, only what is shared to them via the task. So at this point in the process, I'll flip back to Mr. John Jason. I would work this case to completion. Normally what I would want to do is leave this case open until maybe a day or two after the visit to make sure everything is copacetic, make sure everything is good. And then I would simply scroll down to the bottom here and close it out. And then it would move to resolved state. And then from that state, we could potentially automatically close it out if we wanted to. But at this point, Sade, I will hand it back over to you. Thank you, unless there are any specific questions for me.
Tony, thank you so much. I think you hit on two very important details. First of all, site visit support. This is huge. This could be recreated for any group in the DoD that needs to track visitors to all of the federal facilities that we have, managing those approvals, and of course, managing all the information of the guest files via case management. So well done, thank you. And then also, I love that you touched on the parameters that are available out of the box. That's huge for our DoD customers, having the ability to segregate data to determine who can see what, who can edit what. That's huge for our DoD customers. And of course, it's a great out of the box approach to map cases to organizational entities that are requesting service. So again, thank you so much to you and Brendan.
Thank you, Sade.
So well done to all these beautiful partners. I want to take a few minutes to just address a few questions that have come in. We're doing great on time. So Tony, actually, since you just went, it looks like we do have a question. You demonstrated how to create a case from a phone call. Is the process pretty much the same on the back end, regardless of what form of communication that a person initiates a case?
Yes, yes. So as Matt from Hymetric demonstrated in the first example, you can have a really nice secure portal set up. So I can spawn a case that way. I can create a case from a chat. Let's say I have a chat or a phone call. But yes, once it comes to an agent, the channel of origin doesn't matter. How we manage the case, the security protocols, everything that's set up is exactly the same.
So truly omni-channel. Wonderful.
Yes. Yes.
And so how difficult is it to configure those specific reports? Obviously, you showed us, how can we limit the access and the frequency of who's receiving those reports as well?
Yeah, so it's actually quite easy within the platform to set up security parameters around data and what people can see just in general. And for reports, you can set up targeted communication. So let's say if you have a regular report that gets sent out, you can set the platform up to create and send that out in a regular way. So, and then in terms of how easy is it to set up a new report, as long as it's on the same table, a user with the appropriate access could do it. If you are wanting a report that requires a table join, then that's where you would have to work with your administrator. So something that is best practice that we do with our clients is we do train some of the users in the reporting space to allow them to manipulate the data that is available to do it themselves so that they don't have to reach out to admins for ad hoc reports that they might want.
Excellent. Okay, gotcha. Thank you so much, Tony. I think the next question, this is going to go to the WrapTech team, either Mike or Joe. Can you automate the creation of work orders?
Yep, thanks for that question, Sade. So we see work orders being created in a variety of different ways. The same way that Tony and Matt showed that cases can come in through the portal or be created manually. That tends to be the most common way. We're now seeing a huge trend with organizations and agencies moving more to the Internet of Things and the kind of connected infrastructure approach. Where you're monitoring the status of a device, whether it be an HVAC unit, a boiler. In the oil and gas industry, you're seeing it with people monitoring wells out in the field. And then from that, based off of certain metrics, you can auto-create a work order, auto-create a task, and then auto-assign those as well. So helping condense down that dispatch approach as much as we can to get situations addressed effectively and quickly.
Excellent. Okay, got you. And then I think this one's also for you guys. Can you track planned maintenance activities? And if so, how do those work?
Yep. So that's relatively the same. In field service management and with work orders, you can have different types, like you can with anything in ServiceNow. The big shift that we've seen is when you're monitoring a device, or a piece of equipment through the Internet of Things, that's where you're looking at remediation of an issue that popped up, on that day, or an issue that's near term. We're also seeing this huge trend of how do we get more active in being more preventative, schedule those planned activities as far in advance as we can through that case type or work order type, and then also tying that to reporting back. So, if you're managing a facility, a building, or a Garrison, you can look at it from the standpoint of how do we make sure that we don't have to replace a roof, or we don't have to replace an HVAC unit, or the lighting in the aircraft hangar, and be more effective.
And I'll add to what Mike was saying is that a lot of times the planned maintenance activities where you're going out proactively and doing an inspection or actually making replacements will a lot of times spawn off unplanned maintenance or demand maintenance, right? Because you're going to see something once you're out there. And by having the system integrated so tightly, it's just simple to actually spawn off another work order and actually create that immediate request to go fix the thing that's broken that you noticed while you were doing that planned maintenance.
Absolutely. I mean, and really our mission together is to make our DoD customers more proactive and not so reactive. So thank you both. Last question, Matt Moore, I think this is for you since you showed some knowledge management. Can any mission partner submit articles in a knowledge repository?
That's a good question. Ultimately, again, with the mission partners coming into the forum, they can't directly submit an article, but they can go to the forum, and the forum can cut over knowledge. So if there's a good conversation going, a blog or whatever it is, or a document submitted, then the mission partner can, request it to become a knowledge, or DISA may look at it and go, "This is great, we'll turn it in." So they have the avenue, just not, they can't go directly, submit to the knowledge base, but they can go through the forum.
Got you. So that goes back to what Tony was saying about some of those perimeters that are available out of the box then.
Yep, absolutely. And just one thing, just going back to the facility side, just adding to it, and one thing that customers should consider, again, the facility is awesome. The other thing is around fleet management and doing exactly the same thing. So if we're talking with the Air Force or anything else, is being able to say, let's look at an aircraft and common parts that need to be maintained or whatever have you, or allowing pilots to issue a squawk report saying during flight I had something wrong that needs to be repaired. The same principles apply, and for Raptek, looking to expand too. That's something that it's something I know I've been working with other areas, but just again from a ServiceNow perspective, it's a very flexible platform. So anyway, something to consider.
Certainly, I'd say field, fleet, and facility service management, all FSM. So thank you for that. You guys, thank you everybody so much. Really, the purpose of today was to expand the mind of all you in the audience for what the art of the possible with out-of-the-box workflows and ServiceNow can do, but also to shed light on all the brilliant work of these three partners. And they have every step of the way from consulting and solutioning to the actual delivery and implementation have been flawless, and that's hard to come by. So I applaud and I appreciate you all and your teams. So thank you, and big virtual round of applause to Hymetric, WrapTech, and Acorio. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Sade.
We'll be following up with a recording of today and a few additional resources. I will share my contact information if anybody wants to connect with me on LinkedIn. Can you guys see my screen? All right. Thank you all.